Welcome back to The Blend. As the mild Las Vegas winter starts to break and temperatures begin to rise, looking forward to that, by the way, local residents are treated to a cacophony of sniffles, coughs. My co-host sneezed 4 times this morning.
4 times.
It's allergy season, all right? Well, good news though, UNLV's pollen monitoring program is here to help. Each day, the team tracks the valley's biggest pollen polluters for the National Allergy Bureau and alerts us residents what to steer clear of.
Oh my goodness,
Cool.
Here with more on the pollen program and with tips on what we should avoid in each neighborhood, the air. Tanvi Patel, she's a researcher and professor with UNLV's pollen monitoring program. It's great having you.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Thank you for having me here.
So we're in the middle of this, I mean, relatively compared to what we normally have, maybe not the rest of the nation, a bit of a cold snap. The trees are already starting to bloom, though. You're seeing little flowers pop around here and there. Is it true that it's earlier and earlier this allergy season's coming?
It has. We've been tracking this season and previous seasons for the last 4 or 5 years now. We've seen that every season it's kind of inched a little forward, week by week, days by days, because we've started to see that there's a milder winter. We're not having a very cold winter anymore. I mean, last few weeks have been a little bit of a fluke, but we've seen that it's been mild and we've had a longer summer, longer spring season. So it has started earlier every year that we've been tracking.
Wow, it's creeping back. That's really interesting. It's a bit of a misnomer because people might think, oh, there's not a lot of pollen here because we're in the desert. That's not really right. We actually have 2 pollen seasons here.
We do. We have one in spring, so we've brought a little bit of that greenery to the desert. They wanted to create that paradise oasis here, so we've brought a lot of these invasive trees that are not natural to the desert environment. The biggest one we have is mulberry. Those are those big giant trees that you see all over Sunset Park and the older parts. Even here at UNLV's campus, we see them, and those are the biggest offenders that we have here in Las Vegas. The one that's causing allergies for mostly 90% of the population that suffers from allergies.
Wow.
Really? Mulberry is the culprit.
My wife hadn't used her inhaler in years and moved here and then immediately had to start using it because it can be a little bit difficult. So the pollen program, you have 5 air samplers across Las Vegas Valley. You got one way in the desert in Jean.
Yes.
What do you get from this information? How are you able to tell what's coming through?
So what we wanted to do is we wanted to see if there's differences in the different parts of the city here. So what have we planted? Is it kind of dispersing all over the city, especially mulberry, because that's our biggest offender? Well, we've seen that over in the northwest part, over at Joe Neal Elementary School, so we have these at local schools here in the city. We've seen that we do have certain species that are more dominant compared to other parts of town. So if you are a big mulberry and olive sufferer, which are the 2 big ones that we have issues with, the best part of town to live in is Summerlin and over in the east side, because we did not plant those trees. And yeah, you might see a little bit over there, but it's not as worse as being in the central part of the valley, in North Las Vegas area, and over by the downtown area itself too.
What do you call those machines that measure the pollen? It's really cool.
So they're the Burkhardt air samplers.
Yes.
So those are air samplers.
On the left.
They're the standard right there. They're very simple, but they are the standard for tracking pollen and mold in the air.
Before we get to the tips about how to avoid allergy problems, I thought it was interesting to learn that your program actually lost funding for a while, went away. Now UNLV's teamed up with CCSD. The program is back and thriving, and it's really a great resource for us here in the Valley.
And it's important because there's a lot of people obviously suffer from allergies and want to make sure that they're going to be safe and they're going to know what they're going to deal with when they walk out the door. Let's talk about relieving some of these symptoms. I sneezed 4 times today in a row.
Poor thing. How can we help him out?
So besides, consulting a physician or a pharmacist about medication, some of the tips that we give everybody is when you come home from being out in the city, even if you're only out for a few minutes outside, you should always come home and take off your clothes that you're wearing that day because the pollen does stick to your clothing.
Wow. Amen.
This is fun.
Yeah, so take off those clothes and change into fresh clothes because they could stick on there. Wash your hair because we see that a lot of it gets stuck in the hair. So when you're sleeping, you're laying down on the pillow and all of it will come down to your face and in your nasal passages. So that's why in the morning you're probably feeling stuffy or you're sneezing a lot in the morning. Yeah, because you're seeing all of that come down into from your hair and on your clothing and on your pillows. So that is one of the biggest
Never would've
things that we
thought of
tell
that.
everyone to wash their hair, especially during this time of year when there's so much pollen in the air during the spring season.
I should have let myself go bald. I knew it.
Isn't that interesting?
It really is incredible.
Wow.
It's great work that you're doing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah,
on
Thank
so
the program.
you.
It's back
interesting.
up and running.
Thank you. Reduce your sniffles, coughs, and sneezes. The UNLV CCSD pollen monitoring program. They're here to help. There's so many ways to reach out. You can visit their website. Their phone number is also listed right there on your screen.
Remember the song, you don't have to take
Your
your
clothes
clothes off,
off.
but you do if you don't want to